Welcome back to my channel. I'm Anshul from Koanshala. So this is going to be the part 2 of mock test 2 solutions where we discuss the next 9 questions. So if you haven't watched the first video, press on the I icon on the top to watch it because it contains the solution to the first 9 questions which are very important. So definitely go through those questions as well. So I know that the 4 parts that we are having for this mock test 2 solutions are a little bit long, but definitely trust me that you should be spending this time on analysis and on watching the solution so that you get to know little catches and little shortcuts and you are able to pick the good points from the solutions so that you are able to perform better in the next mock tests and in the CAT 20 exam. So let's get started with the solutions. Okay, so two biased dice are thrown together. Biased means dice has 1 to 6 numbers, right? So unbiased means these are all equally likely to come, means the probability of each of these will be equal to 1 by 6. Biased means the probability will be fixed, the probability is unequal for all these 6 numbers. On one of them 6 appears twice as often as any other number. What does that mean? 6 appears twice as often as any other number. That means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6 आने की probability is twice as the probability of any other number. Okay, that means in सब की is same and then इसकी is double. So how do you write this mathematically? You know the total probability is always 1. What is the probability of 1? Let's say probability of 1 is x. Probability of all of these becomes x. So you get 5x here plus probability of 6 is twice of x is equal to 1. You get x as 1 by 7. That means on first dice, probability of 1 is equal to 1 by 7. Probability of 2 is equal to 1 by 7. Similarly, till probability of 5 is 1 by 7. And then probability of 6 is 2 by 7. Okay, this is the first die. For the second die, what do we have? An odd numbers appears thrice as frequently as an even number. Okay? So they're saying 1, 3, 5, 2, 4, 6. If the probability of an even number is x, that means this is x. The total probability of this would be 3x plus what is the probability of 1 now? Thrice of x, because probability of odd number is thrice as an even number. So 3x into 3 becomes 9x. This is equal to 1, x becomes 1 by 12. Okay. So probability of 1 becomes 3 times 1 by 12. Okay. So this you can write this as 3 by 12. Probability of 2 is 1 by 12, even number. Probability of 3 is again 3 by 12. Probability of 4 is 1 by 12. Probability of 5 is 3 by 12. Probability of 6 is 1 by 12. This is what we have. Okay. Now we are done with this, so I'll remove this. Okay. Now what is the probability that the sum of scores on them is less than 11? Less than 11 means what all can they get from 1 to 10? They can't get 1 because 2 dice, right? So 1 plus 1 at least 2 will come. So from 2 to 10 we can't compute manually, right? So why not compute for 11 and 12 and then subtract that from 1? Okay. So what is the probability of 12? 6 and 6 on both dice. So 6 is 2 by 7 into 1 by 12. What is the probability of 11? 11 could be 6 here, 5 here. So 6 on this is 2 by 7 multiplied by 5 here is 3 by 12. Plus it could be 5 on the first die and 6 on the second die. So 5 here is 1 by 7. 6 here is 1 by 12. There are no other cases for 11. Okay, so adding these, probability of 11 plus probability of 12, what does it come out as? 7 by 12, denominator is common everywhere, so I'll just multiply and add the numerators. So this is 2 plus 6 plus 1. So 2 plus 6 plus 1 comes out as 9, and this entire thing is divided by 7 into 12, 84. 9 by 84, I think this can get cancelled by 3. So this becomes 3 by 28. So 3 by 28 is the probability for the score to be either 11 or 12. For the score to be less than 11, what do you get? 1 minus probability of 11 minus probability of 12, which becomes 1 minus 3 by 28. We had 3 by 28, right? 3 by 28. The answer you get is 25 by 28. Okay, so coming to the 11th question, this remainders question I really like a lot. Why? Because many aspirants make a conceptual mistake here. They've memorized some shortcut which is wrong, and it clarifies remainders concept of many aspirants. So make sure you look at this question very carefully. So we have 5 8 58 digits is divided by 27. Okay. So how would you do it from the basics? Don't think about anything that you've learned in any book, any coaching or anywhere. Just try to do it from the basics. Okay. You know that any number can be broken down into powers of 10. For example, we did this in another video also, the factors quiz video, or in the remainders quiz video. Okay. So 432 can be written as 4 into 100 plus 3 into 10 plus 2 into 1. Similarly, we can write for any such number, any number that exists on this planet. Okay. So 27, a beautiful thing about 27 is that 27 is a factor of 999. Okay. Factor of 999, which means remainder of 1000 with 27 is 1. And so will be the remainder of any power of 1000. Power of 1000 का remainder with 27 is 1. 1000 raised to power anything, remainder with 27 will be 1 because of basic remainder concepts. Okay. Now this thing, let's try to break it into powers of 1000 or even powers of something like that. Okay. So let's this number is 585858 and so on. Okay. Can we break it into groups of 3? It becomes 585, 858, and then you have 585 again. So you break into two types of groups. Okay. Let's first try to solve it using one kind of group. So after 3, what kinds of group can you form? You can form groups of 6 because 1000 is 10 raised to power 3. So we'll try to form groups of 3 or multiples of 3. Okay. You'll shortly see why. So can we try to form groups of 6? 585858. This is a group of 6 digits. And then this keeps repeating 585858. This again. So how many such groups do you get? 6 multiplied by, there are total 58 digits. So total of 9 groups you get. And after that, there is a separate 5858 written. So till here 54 digits and then 4 digits after that, making a build of 58 digits. Okay. So let's first consider just the number to the left of this black line, black horizontal line. Let's just consider this number, which has 54 digits. Okay. Let's call this, first of all, this actual number, I'm calling it X, and this number on the left, which is 54 digits, I'm going to call it Y. So what is Y if you see? So Y has 54 digits. If you start from here, so you get 585858 multiplied by 10 raised to power. How many zeros will be here? 54 digits minus 6, so 10 raised to power 48 plus. So what I'm asking you is to break this number into groups such that the first number will only contain this pair and all other zeros. The second number will contain only this group and all other zeros. Okay. So now you get 585858 into 10 raised to power 42, and similarly you can keep getting this up to 5858 into 10 raised to power 0. Okay. So these are the 9 groups that we have got. Now power of the remainder of 1000 to 27 is 1. Computing the remainder of Y with 27 is what we want to do now. So remainder of this will be remainder of 5858 to 27. Let's first calculate the remainder of 585858 with 27. What will it be? Many ways to calculate it. Either you can directly divide the entire thing or you can use some shortcuts. Okay. So what I'm going to use is some basic remainders concept. So you get 58 into 4 zeros plus 58 into 2 zeros plus 58. What is the remainder of 27? 58 with 27 it's 4, right? So 4 multiplied with 1000 remainder with 27 is 1. So 10,000 will be 10 plus again 4 multiplied by remainder of 100 with 27 is 27 into 3 is 81, so 19, and remainder of 58 is 4. So you get 4 into 10 plus 19 plus 1, 4 into 30, 120. 120 remainder with 27 comes out as 12. Okay. So this was just some shortcut I employed. You might not understand it fully, that's fine. But try to employ some kind of shortcut to calculate this value. Okay. Because the goal is to calculate that. I can calculate it in a different way. You can calculate it in a different way. But it has to be efficient. Okay. So the final remainder of this is 12. So this you get 12. Then for the term next to it, which will be 585858, into 10 raised to power 6. The remainder of this will be 12 and remainder of this with 27 will be 1. Why? 1000 is 1. So 1000 raised to power this, 1000 raised to power 2, right? So this will be 1. Similarly, all these powers of 10, the remainder of 27 will be 1. So what do you get? You get just 12. How many times are you adding this 12? 9 times. Okay, 12. So this is 12, this is 12, this is 12, this is 12. All of these 12 you are adding 9 times because these are totally 9 terms for the 9 groups that we had. So what do you get here? The remainder of y with 27 is 4 multiplied, what did we have? 12 multiplied by 9 is equal to 108, and the remainder of this with 27 will be 0 because 108 is completely divided by 27. So remainder of y with 27 is 0. Now what is the actual number x? Remember that what we did was we ignored this 2 5/8 in the end. What is it? If you multiply y by 10,000 and then add this, it becomes the original number, right? So the original number x is nothing but 10,000 into x plus 5858. Now remainder of this is y. Okay. Remainder of y with 27 is 0. So this entire thing becomes 0. So the remainder of x with 27 is nothing but remainder of 5 with 5 with 27. So your answer will be remainder of 5858 with 27, which should be, again I'll use my shortcut, 58 into 100 plus 58. 58 ka remainder with 27 is 4. 100 ka is 19 plus 4. So you get 4 into 20 is equal to 80. And 80 ka remainder with 27 is nothing but 26. Okay, so the answer here is 26. Try to solve some more questions like this. Okay, I'll just write some more questions here which you should try to solve to understand this concept more. 515151, 51 digits, then divide by 27. Then let me write here 534 534 534, 534 digits. Okay. Again remainder of this with 27, and then one final one that I want to write is the same thing that we had, 585858, 58 digits with 33. Okay. These are your 3 challenge questions. Use the same method that we used in this one and post the answer in comments for all these 3. Or if you're not able to solve, post your partial approach and then I will tell you how to solve this further. Okay. Coming to 12th question. In a triangle ABC, D is a point on BC such that area of triangles ABD and ACD are equal. Okay, a lot of points, so let's try to draw the figure. Okay, this is a triangle ABC. D is a point on BC such that area of triangle ABD and ACD are equal. Area of triangle ABD and ACD. Oh, they're trying to give us a hint by the question. Okay, these areas are equal. What does it mean? The height for both the triangles will be same. The height of ABD and ACD will be exactly same, and the bases are different. Now that the areas are equal, we know that the base is also same. That means BD is equal to CD. This is what we know from this statement. Okay, that means AD is a median. So they're trying to tell us this, that D is a midpoint or AD is a median by writing this. So you have to develop the skill of trying to understanding the statement behind the statement. E and F are points on AB and AC respectively. E is a point here, F is a point here. Okay, I'll draw this F later. Such that EF is parallel to and half in length as BC. Okay, EF is parallel to BC and half in length. Again, this is parallel and half in length. So by midpoint theorem or BPT, or in fact converse of BPT, what will you say? AE is half of AB. Okay, you can say this using similar triangles also. So first of all, AE, these triangles AEF and ABC are similar because these are parallel lines, so these angles are equal. Okay. So, and this is half of BC, that means AE is half of AB. That means E is also a midpoint and F is also a midpoint. So all now with that we know till now there are 3 points D, E, F which are all midpoints of the sides. Okay. Find the ratio of triangle EFC and ABC. Okay, now let me draw a new figure. So we have this triangle ABC now. A, B, C. You know there are points D on this, E on this, and F on this, such that these three are midpoints. Now find the ratio of triangles EFC and ABC. Let's draw the triangle EFC. E, F, and C. Okay. So I have triangle EFC and through triangle of ABC. I want to find this area. So what can we do here? Then just trying to make you understand the thought process. We don't have much information here, right? So one thing that we know is that if we draw all the medians, we know something about the areas. So let's try to draw all the medians. So A to D is a median. Okay, and then B to F will be another median going through this centroid. Okay. So this is our point F. Okay, and this is our centroid G. Now we know that centroid divides a triangle into 6 equal areas. Okay. So this is the first. Let me take a different color. This is the first area, second, third, fourth, and then 5, and then this is 6. Okay. This EF is not coming into that picture. So the fifth area is AGF and the sixth one is AGE. Okay. So median, the centroid or the medians divide the triangle into 6 equal areas. These areas of all these regions are equal. Okay. So let's try to use this to our advantage somehow. So now EFC, we are trying to compute the area of this entire thing. We know that GFC is 1/6 of the triangle. If the entire triangle is X, what is the area of GFC? It is going to be X by 6 by the same property that I just told you about. Now we are left with this area of EFG. Okay. Multiple ways to compute this. Let's look at 2 ways. Okay. So EFG, if you see that triangle EFG is similar to triangle CBG. Okay. Note the labeling that I am doing here. Angle E is equal to angle C, alternate interior angles. Similarly, angle G is angle G common, and angle F, angle B, alternate interior angles again. Okay. So these two triangles are similar, and EF is half as BC. That means GF is half as GB. That means the area of this triangle, area of EFG, is 1/4 area of BGC. Sorry, BCG. Okay, this entire triangle. What is the area of triangle BGC? It is X by 6 plus X by 6, which is X by 3. Because this is X by 6. Region number 2. Region number 3 is also X by 6. Adding them, you get X by 3. So EFG is 1/4 times that. So EFG, the area becomes 1/4 into X by 3, or you will get as X by 12. Okay. So what is the, let me come to the next page now. What we have established till now, this is X by 3, sorry, X by 6, and this is X by 12. Okay. I'll have to copy the figure. So what do we know? Area of EFG is X by 12 and area of GFC is equal to X by 6. So we have two different components of the triangle EFC and we know the area of both of those. Adding these, what do you get? 2X by 12 plus X by 12. You get 3X by 12 or X by 4. This is the area of triangle EFC. Adding both of these. Okay. Now they're asking the ratio of triangles EFC and ABC. ABC is x, is what you have assumed. So dividing this by x, you get 1:4. Okay, so answer is 1:4. Let's try to look at this from another angle. Okay, so what you know is that the areas 5 and 6. So we already know that this is 1/6. Now we'll try to compute the area of triangle EFG using another method. This area we'll compute using another method. We know that area of AGE is x by 6. Area of AGF is x by 6. So area of AEGF, this quadrilateral will be x by 6 plus x by 6, x by 3. And you know that the area of this AEF, triangle AEF is x by 4. Why? Similar triangle to ABC and side lengths are half. So area is half squared 1 by 4 x by 4. Okay. So area of EFG will be subtracting area of this quadrilateral from this triangle. So you get x by 3 minus x by 4, which comes out as x by 12. Okay, and then proceeding with the same solution as earlier, you get this is x by 12, this is x by 6, adding them, you get x by 4, and x by 4 ratio with x is 1:4. Okay. These are just two ways to compute the area of triangle EFG. Okay, now A, B and C are paid a total of rupees this much for 21 days of work. So total that they are earning is this. How much did A earn per day? He will earn according to how much work he did, what percentage of work he did, that percentage of this amount A will earn. A and B together completed 78% of the work. Okay, we know that A and B together completed this much. We still don't know about how much A completed alone. Now this says B and C completed together 15% of the work. That means the rest 85% who is completing? A is completing. A completed 85% of the work using statement 2 is what we know. So using statement 2 we know that A completes 85% and he will get 85% of this money. For per day we will divide by 21. So by statement 2 we can answer. By statement 1 alone we cannot answer. Okay. What are the options? Question can be answered using one of these statements alone but cannot be answered using other statement alone. This is our answer. S2 say we can answer it, S1 say we cannot answer it. Let's look at other options just to be sure. Question can be answered using either statement alone, no, because S1 cannot help us answer it alone. Question can be answered using these together, no, because we can answer it using statement 2 only. This is saying not using this alone. Question cannot be answered even using this, no. We can answer it only using S2. This was very basic question, 15 seconds, not even 15 seconds. Okay, this is a very interesting question. This might have looked very tough to you, but this was nothing but half a minute, 30 seconds. Sum of the series 1, 2 by 3, 3 by 5, 4 by 7. So there is a pattern here. What is the pattern? Numerator increases by 1 every time, denominator increases by 2 every time. So you will try to make a series out of it such that nth term means n divided by probably 2n minus 1 and then trying to compute a sum of this one. That will get very complex and maybe out of scope of CAT as well. So what do? In such questions, just try to have an approximate value. What is the total of the first three values here? 1 plus 0.67 plus 0.6. This comes out as 2.27. The first option is less than this. Second option is again 2.1. Second option is also around 2.06 or something. Okay. Our answer has to be 2.27. So again, more than 2.27 because 2.27 is the sum of only first three values and we have to compute the sum of up to 25 terms. So the answer is simply none of these. Ashish borrowed a sum of rupees 1000 from his friend Rahul at 10% interest compounded annually. At the end of first year, Ashish pays rupees 500 to Rahul. Okay. How much interest will Ashish pay Rahul at the end of second year if he wants to pay off the loan completely? Okay. So at time t equal to 0, rupees 1000 is borrowed. After first year, what does it become? 1000 interest plus 1000 principal plus 100 interest. Okay. Here 500 is paid back. So the principal left over is 600 rupees. This is the end of first year. After second year, the principal left for 600. So the principal is 600, the interest is 60, 10%. Compound interest means interest is applied only on whatever principal was left over. Okay, or whatever principal was accumulated. What is the current principal after the end of first year? So for the second year, principal is this, interest is this. So how much interest will Ashish pay Rahul? Interest is only 60 rupees at the end of second year. Total amount will be 660, but that is not the answer. Interest is the answer, 60 rupees. Find the approximate maximum value of, this is a good question, tricky question. You should know multiple concepts to answer this question. Quadratic equations, inequalities. Find the approximate maximum value of the sum of squares of the roots of the equation. So if the roots of this equation are alpha and beta, you're supposed to get alpha square plus beta square. If both roots are imaginary, okay, both roots are imaginary means discriminant less than 0. And then we have to compute alpha square plus beta square, which can also be written as alpha plus beta whole square minus 2 alpha beta. Alpha plus beta whole square we know will be minus of a plus 3, 2 alpha beta we know will be this one. Okay. So we simply have to compute the value of a maybe, and then that will help us answer the question. Let's see. Roots are imaginary, so first of all let's say discriminant less than 0. Discriminant is a plus 3 whole square b square minus 4ac, 4 times a times c, a plus 3.75. Okay, this is less than 0. Let's compute it. We get a square plus 6a plus 4a 10a plus you get 9 here, and this 3.75 multiplied by 4 is 3.75 multiplied by 2 will be 7.5, multiplied by 2 is 15. So 15 plus 9, 24, less than 0. This is simply a plus 6 into a plus 4. You can see the fact, you can check the factorization, less than 0. That means this is by the simple number line method. If you don't know this, do read about this. This is a very basic thing. So the two roots are minus 4 and minus 6, plus minus plus. Don't just memorize this method, also understand the reasoning behind this. Okay, I will make a separate video for this one. This is very easy. You can just Google it up and read about it. So this will be less than 0 in the interval minus 6 to minus 4. That means a belongs to minus 6 to minus 4 for this expression to be less than 0. Okay, that means for roots to be imaginary, a belongs to this interval. Okay, that means we have to find the maximum value of this thing when a belongs to this. Let's go to the next thing. So we know that alpha square plus beta square is alpha plus beta whole square minus 2 alpha beta, which is equal to, what is alpha plus beta whole square? A plus 3 whole square, minus of a plus 3 whole square aega, but I'm squaring it, so minus can be ignored. Minus 2 alpha beta, again we'll get plus minus minus is plus 2 into alpha beta a plus 3.75. Okay, so this becomes another quadratic equation. A square plus 6a plus 2a becomes 8a. This becomes 9 plus 7.5, 16.5. Okay, so we have to compute the maximum value of this when a belongs to minus 6 to minus 4. This is the condition for the roots to be imaginary. Okay, so now let's try to find the maximum or minimum of this. If you know calculus, very good. If you don't, then you would have memorized some formulas of the, where is the minimum value of a quadratic equation. So I think minus b by 2a. Okay, so it will come out as minus 8 by 2, minus b by 2a mean minus of this divided by minus of this coefficient divided by twice of this coefficient. So minus of 8 by 2 is equal to minus 4. So the minimum of this comes at minus 4. Okay, that means if you were to draw a graph something like this, minus 4 is kind of minima for this. That means the minimum value of this quadratic equation is at minus 4. Minus 6 is somewhere here. That means in this interval minus 6 to minus 4, the maximum value of this expression will come at minus 6. Because quadratic equation will only have one minimum value. Quadratic equation graph is always a parabola, something like this, or the other way around. That means only one upper peak or downward peak is there, which is at minus 4. So minus 6, a is equal to minus 6 will give us our answer. Put a equal to minus 6 here. What do you get? Let me just erase some of this. So put a equal to minus 6 here, what do you get? 36 plus minus 48 plus 16.5. 36 plus 16.5 comes out as 52.5 minus 48 comes out as 4.5. Do we have an option for 4.5? Yes. Okay, very interesting question, very conceptual. You get to understand inequalities as well as quadratic in multiple ways. So in this question, what all did we cover? Basic quadratic determinant, discriminant, inequalities concept, and optimization, minimum value of quadratic. Okay, so such questions should always be marked for revision. Whenever I suggest that how you should revise a particular chapter is not go through all the questions or not go through all the concepts of that chapter again. You will remember some of the concepts, right? If you revise a chapter after 2 months or 1 month. So mark the questions in such a way that those questions, mark some questions in such a way that those questions cover all your topics or all your concepts, important concepts from that topic. So this is one such candidate question for to be marked, okay? Because this covers 3 such things. So you can revise, if you do this question, forget whether you are able to do it or not when you do it after 2 months. Even if you're not able to do it, you will go through all of these 3 concepts in solving it. So such questions are very important to be marked. Take a screenshot or write this down, but very important question for revision. Okay, now factorize this number, because for number of factors always factorization is very important. Factorization, you can see that easily this number is divisible by 12. So you write 12 into 0, 1, 0, 3, 0, 5. It is 10,305. This is divisible by 5. So this becomes 12 multiplied by 5 multiplied by, what do you get? 2061. 2061 is divisible by 9. So this becomes 9 multiplied by, I get 2 here, then 2 here again, and then 9 here. 229 is a prime number, I think. For checking prime numbers, what do you do? Take the square root of this, add 1 to it, so you get 16. Okay, approximate square root. From 1 to 16, check all the prime numbers and try to divide by 229. Try to divide 229 by those prime numbers. If nothing is divisible, if no prime number can divide 229, then that means it is prime. Okay, so 12 can be written as 3 into 2 into 2. So what is the final prime factorization that we have for this number? N is equal to 2 squared multiplied by 3 multiplied by 5 multiplied by 9 multiplied by 221. Okay. Now let me remove some of this. Okay. 229. So this is our prime factorization. What is n square? It is 2 raised to power 4 into 3 square into 5 square into 9 square. Oh, this 9. This should be actually coming here 3 cube, right? So you get 3 raised to power 6 in this case, 5 square and then 229 square. Number of factors of this one is 3 multiplied by 4 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 2, which is 12 multiplied by 4, 48. And for this one is 5 into 7 into 3 into 3, which comes out as 35 into 9, 315. Okay. Now how many factors of n square are less than n? Subtract 1. So 315 minus 1. These are all the pairs that you can see here. Divide by 2 to get the left hand side of all those pairs. So that means on the left side there are 157 numbers which are divisible, which are factors of n square. That is all we know till now. How many factors of n are there which are less than n? Out of this 48, there is one which is n itself. So factor of n which are less than n is 47. Okay. Now if you subtract both these numbers, so 157 factors from here till here for n square and 47 factors from here till here for n. And all these 47 are also contained within these 157. So if you subtract, what will you get? You will get 157 minus 47 is equal to 1110 factors of n square which are less than n and not a factor of n. So 110 factors. Now what they're asking us for is, what is the number of factors of P? Oh, if P is the number of factors of this, so basically P is 110 in this case. What is the number of factors of P? So what is 110? Can be written as 2 into 55. 55 is 5 into 11. Just check it again. This is fine. Number of factors of this is 2 into 2 into 2. Answer is 8. Okay, coming to next question. This is very interesting question. Priya, who was born in 1947, makes a list of all the years that she has lived starting from 1947 to 2019. How many numbers in this? 1947 to 2019. Subtract these, you get 72 plus 1. Basically 73 numbers in total. She strikes out 2 random years in between, and her list now contains 71 4-digit numbers. Okay, that means 73 was correct. Striking out 2 and you get 71 numbers left. If all these numbers in her list are multiplied, what would be the remainder when the result is divided by 23? Okay, so basically she has written down numbers from 1947, 1948 till 2019. Okay, and then she strikes 2 numbers from here, multiplies all the remaining numbers, which is going to be a very big number, and then find the remainder of this at 23. Okay, such questions always try to find a number which is divisible by 23. Okay, there will be at least one number between this 1947 to 2019 which is divisible by 23. Okay, but what if that number is striked out? Because she is striking out 2 numbers also. She strikes out 2 random numbers. Okay, so how do you solve it? See, you know that there are 73 consecutive numbers. In 73 consecutive numbers, how many numbers will be there which are guaranteed divisible by 23? If you have your 73 consecutive numbers, let's say this number is x, then you have x plus 1, then you have x plus 2, and so on till x plus 72. These are 73 consecutive numbers which she wrote down initially before striking out. Okay. Now if the remainder of this with 24 is, let's say, anything, is y. Okay. What will be the remainder of this with 24? Y plus 1. So what all remainders do you have with 24? Y plus 1. Why I'm writing y? This could be anything, right? This could be 27. In this case it is 1947, but let's try to solve it generically. 1947 remainder with 23 is y, is what I'm assuming it as. So next one will be y plus 1, y plus 2. This will go on till how much? Y plus 22. After that, y plus 23, it will actually be essentially remainder y, because 23 remainder with 23 is 0. So it becomes remainder y again. Let me write this in the next line. Y. Again, they go till y plus 22. These are 23 numbers. These are 23 numbers. Then you have again this entire cycle repeating from y plus 22. This is again 23 numbers. Till now we are 69 numbers. Okay, then you have again y plus 1, y plus 2, and y plus 3. Some 4 numbers here. Okay. Now in this, if you see, these are 3 complete cycles of remainders with 23. Okay. That means if you are taking the remainder with 23, all the numbers are contained here from 0 to 23. Because there are 23 numbers, all the remainders with these numbers with 23 will be unique. That means one of these will be 0, one of these will be 1, one of these will be 2 till 23. Okay. So there are at least 3 numbers in this complete list of 73 numbers that are divisible by 23. Okay. And even if you, in the worst case, you strike out 2 of them, the third one is still left. Okay. That means in the list of 71 4-digit numbers, there is at least one number which is divisible by 23. So when you multiply all those and take the remainder by 23, the remainder will be 0. So these were the next 9 solutions, guys. I hope you are also solving these questions yourself to extract the maximum benefit out of it. The next 9 or 7 questions will be in the next video, next part. The link will be shortly on your screen and also mentioned in the description below. Do like the video if you like the content. Do subscribe to the channel along with the notification bell so that you know next time I am posting a quiz or I am posting a mock test, so you are able to participate into it live. All the best, keep learning.